Tough break for them, but they are still statistically the best team of the 8 teams in the lower bracket, Alan.
Statistically, yeah, I would probably fear VP up there with Vici Gaming and Navi. I would fear the most. Just having to play this team in a one-game series is just so scary. I mean, if you look at G averages 4.4K net worth at 10 minutes. That's more than any other player. And I mean, he just is so dangerous a snowball player. And it looks like we might get to see the absolute. I am very happy that this happened. Mushi Shadowfiend is probably, to me, one of the icons of the International.
It is, and in the opening film we saw today, you know, we had players like Ice Timberso, and well, you had Mushi Shadowfiend because he is the Shadowfiend player, and Shadowfiend on Radiant is way more scary. Like, special mention to the Silencer first phase ban. It's obviously something we haven't seen so far, but it is in this, like, in the main event, in the elimination game. But it's like one of the best picks right now for Virtus.pro. They've been very successful both on the carry position and on the mid position with G. So
yeah, Illidan's Silencer is absolutely terrifying. I mean, we saw him just absolutely dismantle a TA 1v1 mid, and he's not usually their mid player.
Yeah, and they actually wanted Gyrocopter rather in Illidan's hands than Silencer, and that said something for sure. I'm really curious to see how much effort Virtus.pro is going to put into trying to maybe shut Mushi down in that mid lane, because, I mean, you need to do something against him.
Now, this was something, by the way, that Winter brought up to me last night, that he really likes this Gyrocopter Dazzle combination, and it does turn out, when you look at all the hero pairings that have been played to the group stage here at TI5, Gyrocopter and Dazzle is arguably the most successful.
Yep. And not only that, but it also then sometimes goes on that you then get the Lina and the Tusk in there as well, and they become like a 4 pick, and we've seen quite a lot of those throughout the tournament.
I think Naga Siren's really good versus all of this, though. It's really good versus Dazzle, it's really good versus BKB Gyrocopter, and there's a reason why we haven't seen Naga Siren at all today. That hero is one of the best.
No. I mean, Naga is, when you see, there are a lot of teams in this year's TI5 that are very tempo dependent. And Naga is an excellent hero for dictating tempo. And I think she's also a pretty good support hero, at least in lane. I think you'll almost certainly see this as a support Naga Siren.
And you know, I'm going to bring that up right now because KYXY is one of those players. Like, the good thing also about drafting Naga that early, Naga is that type of hero. If you suddenly decide to play a Naga core and the other team is not ready for it, then it can sometimes pretty much be GG, because if you don't stop the Naga from like getting the Radiance and then she gets farmed and you don't have anything to clear illusions, there's actually nothing you can do about it. So it's quite scary when someone first face Naga, because you have to, you know, keep in mind that even though they never played it on carry, they could, and it could be like really hard to deal with.
And if it's not on a carry, they have like so many combo tools that they can do, and there's no silencer anymore.
Definitely, right. And KYXY, he is a Naga player as well. He does play Naga from time to time, so I mean, Virtus.pro will have to keep that in mind.
I mean, it's already shaping up to be a very scary teamfight lineup from Fnatic. The sleep into like vacuum wall with no silencer. I mean, you can probably BKB out of it, but it's not going to save your supports. And if your supports die, Dazzle is useless. If you don't want him to grave himself.
When you see a lineup like this, you got to think about Enigma. Like, it's one of the scariest hero right now to play against. I mean, for Fnatic, if Fnatic gets Enigma, it's very scary. They also play Enigma on Johnny quite a lot. So
I would not like to see the Enigma on a Fnatic here for one simple reason, and that's that, again, this is an issue with teamfight lineups in general, and it's an issue for Fnatic in particular. You have to survive the laning phase to get that Wombo combo online, and I really worry about the Enigma pick in terms of the pressure that it would put on Fnatic's
For
hands.
sure. That's what they would have to do. But yeah, definitely. It would put a lot of pressure on them because it's quite greedy, but when you think about it as well, they don't need so much. They can just dodge fights, and then, because they sleep into hole, especially when you have the vacuum to back him up, there's literally nothing you can do about it.
You can see by both the bans and the picks that both teams are placing a lot of emphasis on the laning phase. You see the Razor and the Viper banned, and you see, of course, FNG's Winter Wyvern banned out on the side of Fnatic.
Definitely, and it's most likely, I mean, Virtus.pro, it's hard to call it, but I feel like it's going to be, it might be at least the Shaker offlane. They've been playing it more than Shaker support, but they do play Shaker as well. I mean, mainly on, actually FNG and Lil, both of them play it.
I really like this Lina pick, by the way, both as a pick for potentially catching him, but to take in the 4 position. I generally don't like support Lina, but he's a very good support Lina player, and the farm that he gets throughout the game makes him devastatingly effective on that hero, as well as taking it away from Virtus.pro. G's mid Lina is absolutely terrifying.
And it does look like it's Earthshaker that is going to be a support with DK Phobos taking on the Spirit Breaker. I really love seeing him on those heavy melee initiators. He does so well on those.
Yeah, and DK Phobos we don't talk about enough. He has the best KAD on the team.
Interesting fact about DK Phobos. You know that game that's called Osu that mostly CAS players play on their stream in between games with where you have to be very fast with your mouse? He's really good at that game. Like, amazingly good. And he's one of the oldest players on our team, so in theory people always say, oh, when you go older you get less...
Hey, whoa, let's calm down here a little bit, alright, before we get out of...
How good are you at OC?
Well, that's not the point I'm saying, you know, this is just a myth, this is just, you know, there's no science behind this. You ask Alan.
No science behind it. No, but that's true, and DK Phobos proves that, because he's amazing at OC,
yes.
Even though in theory apparently he shouldn't be, but, you know, he breaks that theory, so that's good.
Good, alright. I'm glad we got that cleared up. 1 pick left in each.
I think the TA ban's really important, considering VP is dire, and it's a hero that can kind of stand up to the initiation from Lina or Naga Siren, and also dominate.
Do we see the mid Bloodseeker here for G?
I don't like it personally.
Shut down.
You want to have something that's less squishy, because if you're going to be standing in the middle of all of that AoE that's going to come out from Fnatic, you do not want to have a Bloodseeker at all.
It's just, you know what, I actually agree with Merlini, but it's such a VP pick.
Wraith King only picked 4 times. So
Fnatic's lineup
TI5.
Yeah. It's very scary. Honestly, I think they have a very good lineup. It's very balanced. Yeah. It's quite scary to face, and they're not going to be able to shut down their this safely. I mean, Virtus.pro is not going to be. I don't think going aggressive against Lina, Naga, or anything is an easy task. I think it's very risky from them. So they're probably going to have to deal with a strong safe lane from Fnatic, and that also means a jungle that's secured for SF to farm. So we'll see. G's hero is going to be very important. The matchup G versus Mushi is going to be crucial.
I'm still going to say this is a DK or a Bloodseeker. I really do. I think that those are G's 2 best heroes probably that are left in the pool.
I wouldn't be surprised that no matter what G plays, that Earthshaker is going to hang around mid until G is safe and until Mushi on that Shadow Fiend is slowed down. Because, I mean, you're not going to stop him, but you can slow him down.
The only problem with those melee heroes is that you're going to give SF a very good start. Yeah. And you're giving Mushi SF a very good start, so that's what it is. It was a very nice call from you, but I'm a bit worried for the DK in that case, because I don't think Shaker is going to be enough for him to do well in the lane.
I would tend to agree. I do think Fnatic have the stronger draft here, but again, you know, we've seen throughout the day today, it's execution, and especially execution early that matters.
Definitely.
Okay, it is the Battle of the Orange. Virtus.pro versus Fnatic. And it's time to go and join our commentators. Give me great pleasure to introduce a man who has sweated blood and tears and passion to be at the International in the last 12 months. Capitalist, it's all yours.
What an intro. Thank you, Red Eye. Couldn't be more excited here. We're going to be burning the midnight oil here, but the hype couldn't be realer. We've got 2 more best-of-1 elimination matches on our hand splits. Fnatic facing up against Virtus.pro. This has got to be a tough one to call, right?
Yeah, I would give the edge to Virtus.pro, but I think it was at the tournament that MLG actually knocked out Virtus.pro, if I remember correctly, or was it the other way around? Regardless, the game was really close. That's all I remember. And I'm pretty excited to see this, especially with how the last game went. If it's anything like the Navi Vici Gaming game, I'm so hyped for this.
All right, starting things off already. A little bit of all chat coming in. Virtus.pro, just happy to be here. Have fun, says Lil. We're going to be starting things off. Looks like pretty normal. We got a defensive tri-lane coming out from Virtus.pro. Illidan playing a signature gyrocopter. Lil going to be playing the Earthshaker, babysitting him, and probably roaming into that middle lane. FNG is on our Dazzle, sitting behind God's Dragonite in the middle lane. And we have an off-lane DK Phobos Spirit Breaker. Meanwhile, on the Fnatic side, 4 of them inside of their own jungle right now, starting with KYXY on the Wraith King, Johnny playing his Lina, Mushi on the Naga Siren, Ketchigimba playing the SF, and Ohio on the off-lane Darkseer.
30 seconds
I'm actually so excited to see this mid matchup. I'm actually really surprised to see that Ketchigimba is actually going to be the mid player for Fnatic in this game, and how often do you see that? Mushi just giving up that role, I guess, and it looks like he's going back to playing support.
Yeah, we talked about this, right? That Mushi, it seemed like Mushi wanted to be able to take that mid-roll onto himself and basically put the whole entire team on his back, but it seems like in this moment, when you come down to the very clutch, he's going to depend on his allies, he's going to be playing that support role and rely on Ketchikimba and KYXY to carry him. They're going to be heading now into the middle lane. Starting things off, Johnny already doing that early blocking that most supports should try and do in order to get Ketchikimba that slight bit of advantage over the DK, because this is already going to be a really tough matchup for the DK, correct?
Yeah, it's actually not a lane that he's going to succeed in, because even with the Dazzle there, they have almost no kill potential onto the Shadow Fiend, and worst comes to work, Ketchikimba can just go into the jungle like they had discussed in the chat, and this is a matchup that a DK struggles with regardless. Shadow Fiend is one of those heroes where maybe 2 heroes in Dota that can beat him heads up, and neither of them are melees.
Pretty standard as support, usually trying to sit on the SF to make sure he does get, oh, bit of action here in the bottom lane. DK Phobos, double stuns get laid out. Now he's so tanky, but KYXY managing to stay in front of Spear Breaker to get that extra bit of damage, will be able to force out that early health potion and keep him at bay. But as we see that middle lane, normally you want to have that support try and sit on the SF for the first 1 or 2 levels to make sure he's not pressured out or anything. And the side benefit being that Mushi, especially on the Radiant side, is going to be able to stack up for him.
Yeah, and the problem right now with VP's lanes are the Darkseer isn't getting zoned out whatsoever by the Earthshaker, and so the Dazzle has to rotate back up here, meaning that it is a 2v1 matchup in mid lane, and Mushi's just glad to be able to do this because Ketchikimba is doing such a good job in CS. He leads the charts right now at 9-2, and I think sooner or later Mushi's going to realize he doesn't really need help anymore. And I mean, I'm still surprised that with his tournament hopes on the line, Mushi turns to the 16-year-old.
Yeah, this young player, Ketchikimba, we've seen the storyline of him, Valve doing that piece and basically being, you know, the young player that Mushi is trying to mentor to become some of the best players in Southeast Asia. Now, I love the fact that they're dual laning right here, because the fact that they're still able to keep up an experience. Oh god, it's going to be your first blood here. They're able to snag it with an early ensnare. And the dual lane against God turns out very favorable. And this is such a big shutdown to Virtus.pro, because God has been sort of the mainstay for Virtus.pro. Such a leader for them, always determining the tempo of an aggressive game for VP.
I think that's the first time I've seen God die before the 3-minute mark in a 1v1 matchup. Granted, the Naga was there, but he was still in a really precarious situation, staying with such low mana and HP, and it does feel like he's a little bit bothered. Well, he's really bothered right now by what Mushi's doing, and it's going to make you tilt and sometimes just come up with bad decisions, and he opted to stay with that little HP. They're going to punish him for it.
And the best part is Ketchikimba, especially since they got a kill, but either way, he's not going to be falling behind in experience because they have this big stack available for him, as Mushi is constantly making that one go. Shadow Fiend, despite their kind of like half dual laning, is actually going to be just fine in experience and will keep up with God rather easily. Let's take a look at our off lane here for the side of Fnatic. We've got Ohio the Darkseer. He's playing up against a Gyrocopter as well as an Earthshaker. You can see, a little bit more damage, 24 HP. Virtus.pro unable to secure the kill there, and Ohio probably going to have to head back to base now. Almost has his complete soul ring though.
Yeah, once he has that, he can pretty much just alternate to the jungle. There's no reason for him to just stay up here. He's not really contesting the Gyrocopter's farm. As you see, Illidan's already at 21. He's not bothered by this too much. If he wants to just CS that Ion Shield creep, he can just go for the Rocket Barrage. There's no real need for him to stay in this lane. I think going to the jungle might be a better idea. Like, there's actually 1 stack here. Oh, I think they'll go for the 2nd stack by Johnny. And once that happens, you can divide it. You can give Ketchikimba 1, you can give your offlaner the other, and you can divide the farm up. And meanwhile, Mushi can just take the mid lane once the Shadow Fiend hits level 5, level 6.
That early laning ward actually being spotted out by Ohio. He pinged it. FNG placing it a little bit before nighttime struck, so he was seen, unfortunately. Ketchikimba hitting now his level 5, even doing a little bit of bottle crowing where, he's just sitting on a magic stick and a branch with his bottle coming in. Looks like he's got his boots now as well, but you could just see he's not going to be able to put enough pressure on the SF anytime soon. And if you can't put pressure on the SF in the laning phase, and you're allowing him to be able to also clear through his stacks, what's really your next timing to kill the SF?
I mean, you can't really kill the SF in this position. You're going to have to wait for your Spirit Breaker to get a few levels. And he's doing a really good job right now in the offlane picking up levels. And all he has to do is play patient. Like, the Shadow Fiend is going to get ahead of you by virtue of having the jungle, because the Dragon Knight can't go to his own jungle, but you just can't tilt. You have to relax and say, okay, this is part of the game. I'm meant to be behind in CS. We'll get ahead in other ways.
Right, so as our Spirit Breaker, hopefully going to pick up that level 6 soon, may be able to rotate, help that one. Stun gets laid out. DK Phobos not really scared too much. He's just too tanky for the dual lane to really shut him out. Meanwhile, we've got our Earthshaker who's been doing a lot of pulling on the side of Virtus.pro. Lil has focused on trying to keep as much CS away from that Darkseer and obviously get the critical levels for him. Other than that, it seems to be a very passive laning phase. Really, what's our first movement from the supports? Is Fnatic the ones who need to be the aggressors, perhaps, you know, continue to try and shut down God? Or do we look towards that rotating Earthshaker, maybe even going down to, you know, the middle lane or bottom lane with the Spirit Breaker as he hits his level 6?
I actually don't even think that mid is really killable with the amount of farm that he has, and if he just decides to play safe. The Earthshaker combination, I guess, is strong. He's got level 2 Fissure, but Mushi's just camping there waiting for them to go on him. And it's not like G has full mana to do his combo, especially not with that second Breathe Fire. So they probably just have to kind of concede and say, okay, until the Spirit Breaker's willing to come in, we probably can't do anything. But this double damage might change things as DK Phobos sprints out of there with 58 HP. And they should be able to do some damage to this bottom tower, but he's still getting a lot of levels, considering the type of lane that he's against. He's almost level 6, compared to Ohio, who's only level 4. And she's going to rotate to this top tower, take this tower really quickly, and I like this rotation.
Yeah, they're hoping to be able to catch the Darks here at the same time. Lil coming out, going for the Fissure block, which he does land. It's just a bit too close to the tier 2. So Virtus.pro very much committing now to take the tier 1 at the off lane, but this is seriously going to be a great trade-off for Fnatic. They're pushing in their own bottom lane, they're also taking down middle. In fact, you can see Mushi right now is using his illusions to be able to pull the creeps just to give that extra right-click time for catching Imba and the creeps on that tier 1 middle tower.
Yeah, and I don't even know if this is a really good trade for VP, because Jihu's already far behind. Yeah, you get that tower at top, but you're giving up so much leeway to the Shadow Fiend, who nearly doubles you in CS. If he was able to take that tower by himself solo, that would just be further efforts wasted, and Kachikemba's doing a really good job. He is ready to the stack, so there's not much more that they can go for. Oh, he's actually got one more stack to go for. He's about to hit his level 7, and I anticipate him just kind of rotating there because it's too unsafe to continue to push this mid lane.
So the tier 1 tower does get denied by G, but it's still a loss of map control for Virtus.pro. Same goes with that tier 1 offlane tower being brought down to around half HP. KYXY here, he's been free farming for quite some time. What really should his item build be for this game? Are we looking towards perhaps a somewhat early Midas, or do you go for the Blade Mail Blink Dagger build this game just to try and get it really aggressive on the Gyrocopter at all times?
I don't know if Blade Mail Blink Dagger is the build this game. If I'm looking at VP's lineup, there's not a whole lot of heroes that I want to really use the Blade Mail on. There's no damage that VP can't just not throw out. Especially since the Gyrocopter's eventually going to go S and Y into BKB. I think the Wraith King has to keep up with them in farm, and I think it's the wrong idea to go for the Blade Mail. The Blink Dagger, though, I really agree with, because if you're Fnatic, what I think will happen is Kuchikimba will go for the mech, your Wraith King gets a Blink Dagger, and then you can essentially just run at people. He's actually got a Gloves of Haste, so this might mean that he's going to go for the Hand of Midas instead.
The possibility of a Maelstrom is there. That used to be a frequent build for Wraith Kings as well, but a much more popular build would of course be that Hand of Midas, just because levels are so important on a Wraith King, right? The faster you get that level 2 or level 3 ultimate, the more viable you are as a carry.
Yeah, a lot of your natural abilities just come from your passives, and so it's not necessary to really get early game items. Like, you don't need an S and Y or anything like that. You can just opt to go greedy. Like you said, you just need the levels. Once you're level 16, you're pretty much a free Aegis every single time. That's what you're shooting for as fast as possible, but right now, Virtus.pro, it looks like they are going to smoke up and try to take a tower down with this. And it doesn't really matter if they kill anybody. This is one of those smoke ganks that is meant to just catch you by surprise, and you do it so quickly that there's no time to respond. I don't think they want Mushi out of this. I think they want KYXY, but they're not going to be able to get him.
Oh, this smoke popping. They may actually go on the wrong one. They blow up the illusion immediately. Mushi himself has actually been hit by the Fissure, but they still haven't caught out. DK Phobos trying to get vision for the charge. Now gets it, but perhaps it's a bit too late. Sure enough, they stop the charge, not knowing if Virtus.pro Or rather, Fnatic are going to rotate around now. Looks like God is going to go for KYXY. Gets hit by the Light Strike Array. KYXY just hoping to be able to get back behind his tier 1 tower, especially with that reincarnation ready to go. I'm sure he feels very comfortable if VP want to go for the dive here. KYXY actually they're both going to TP out. They just give up this tier 1 tower in exchange for more pushing time. You can see already Mushi is trying to get that creep wave into the tier 2 tower, and Ketchigemba and Ohio are going to trade off for the tier 1 at top.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. That smoke, it's one of those hopeful, well, if we get it, great. If we don't, it's not that big of a deal, just because you're going to get a tower out of it every single time, because there's zero time for Fnatic to respond. If they want to respond, they instantly have to make the gesture, okay, everybody has to TP right around now, but they smartly decide to go for the trade, and I'm a big fan of that. But at the same time, VP is getting some map control out of getting all of these towers, and the more they're going to beat on this tier 2, and the Dragon Form's going to go down, but this is still free damage, and it allows them to go for things like the Roshan earlier and the mid tower, and it just creates pressure in the jungle at the same time.
Yeah, they very clearly could not afford to just give up that tier 2. Dragonite just too good of a pusher. That being said, a VP grouping up like this, I'm looking at this Dragonite who's currently level 7 compared to Ketchigemba, who is level 9 right now. A huge experience difference between these two mids. But that's just, as you said, kind of early on in the laning phase, what is expected for a Dragonite at this point, right? They have to get those levels through winning team fights at this point.
Yeah, the problem with the Dragonite right now is that he can't just rotate to the jungle and do his own thing. It's incredibly slow because he has to clear 1 stack at a time.
Right.
The mana usage of Breathe Fire isn't nearly as efficient as Shadow Raze. So what you're probably going to have to do if you're the Dragonite is just 5-ban with your team. The problem is that a Shadow Fiend insta-clears a creep wave with 2 raises, meaning that he can apply pressure to a tower pretty much by himself, and you're seeing that right now, and it means that the solo experience he's getting is making such a big difference. But at top,
Ohio, he's done for. He's going to throw out a last Ion Shell. He knows he's dead. The moment that Fisher stopped his TP, he's done for. So throws out the Ion Shell 1-1 now, 11 minutes in between Fnatic and Virtus.pro. Let's talk a little bit more about item builds as we see Fnatic go for the 3-man smoke. Gyrocopter appears to be going. He's got the phase boots, Ring of Aquila. Doesn't actually offer the drums, it seems. Instead, maybe going for an early Sage and eventually into the SNY. I kind of like this early stats build, especially with the movement base when you're dealing with a melee core on the enemy team.
yeah, it's just one of those things where you want to be able to kite for as long as possible, and the S&Y allows you to just have free stats, be able to pretty much kite KYXY nonstop, but it does look like VP wants to get into this fight, and everyone's TPing down, but Lil might just get caught out.
Lil, totally done for the rest of Virtus.pro, still going to try and force this fight. KYXY is the first target, but of course, he's got that reincarnation. In fact, they even have the Song of Siren if they feel like this fight is not going to go their way. So Fnatic start backing up, Mushi pops the Song of Siren, and they're just going to play it very, very safe here. Mushi TP's out. KYXY, I'm sure, has enough distance to be able to get away. And Fnatic, I think they just have the right idea through and through. Avoid team fights as much as possible. Try and split push, take towers where you can, and draw this game out. You do not want to be going into team fights against a Dragonite and a Gyrocopter this early on into the game.
Yeah, something I am a little bit concerned about, though, is that the Shadow Fiend decided to go for this S&Y. I believe he's not going for a mech or anything like that, so he's going to be pretty squishy in these fights, and that's something VP can take advantage of. They have a ton of stuns. The Rocket Barrage is still going to rip right through you, whether or not you have that S&Y, and this Roche fight is going to be so crucial. They don't have to sleep.
VP, no. They've got two ultimates down on the side of Fnatic, but the element of surprise is there for Fnatic. They're going to be able to try and jump MT. He gets off the shell, great catch. Akimba bounce over that Fisher, back and forth. The big Echo Slam comes out, but it's still not enough. God, as well as Illidan, dropping lower and lower. Looks like they're going to be able to get God on the start. Now double Ion Shell, but they just want to get out of here. Illidan is too strong. Mushi trying to sack himself over into Roshan. No, he's actually got a health potion. Interrupted by the Fisher. Now Mushi very much dead. DK Phobos, no, rather FNG gets the kill. Lil, he's going to be able to go for the stun, but KYXY trying to finish him off, needs a little bit more HP. Nice armlet targeting. Will be able to get out of that one. VP back themselves up, only losing the Dragonite in exchange for 3 on the side of Fnatic. It seemed like Fnatic, despite the fact that they had sort of that element of surprise with the smoke and going into that Roshan pit, VP were still too strong, and I think it was all about that read of both Song of Siren and Reincarnation being on cooldown.
The other problem is, once again, the Shadow Fiend decides to go for the Yasha first, so he has no HP. VP pretty much all in him, take him down instantly in that fight, and without those 2 crucial ultimates, they can't really take that fight, because KYXY doesn't want to be the first one in, because he realizes he can't really afford to waste his life. He's 2-0-0, he's the highest net worth on his team after the Shadow Fiend, and it's not worth it for him just to die like that. And At the same token, you don't have the Song of the Siren, so there's no real way to safely contest this without vision. And it looks like they're just going to walk right in, but again, they don't have either of these abilities. They're going to have to be fast about it because Lil is going to get the stun.
There goes that Aegis, call down is coming in. Spirit Breaker bounces back, catching him, but perfect timing. He's going to pop the ultimate though, and DK Bubbles gets eliminated by those two. KYXY on the front lines trying to toggle as best as possible surge, but not good enough. The SF goes down as well, and now Virtus.pro just looking for cleanup. Johnny's on his way out, the rest of the team trying to cover each other to make sure that they don't lose anything else, but that's still 2 Roshan fights down the drain after what seemed to be a very coherent battle plan from Fnatic. Avoid team fights from VP as much as possible, split push, take towers, draw this game out. They willingly go into 2 different team fights around Roshan and lose both dramatically.
Yeah, and that's twice now that the Shadow Fiend has died. I mean, he's still the highest net worth, but it's not by much anymore, and the Gyrocopter is actually rapidly gaining on him, and at the same time the Dragon Knight is leapfrogged over that Wraith King, and I just don't understand why they decided to take the first fight and then immediately go for the second one when you still know you don't have those 2 crucial moments. It's not like the Shadow Fiend had souls either, and so they were gimped in 3 different ways, but they still opted to take the fight. I don't know if a Roshan is that valuable.
Certainly not. Virtus.pro very happy with the exchange. You could see Fnatic had built themselves a pretty decent net worth lead before those Roshan fights, above 3K so early on into the game, at about a 1500 experience lead as well, but it all gets flushed down the drain as Fnatic force fight after bad fight. Now the mech is up on the Darkseer, and the team fight aspect of Fnatic grows a bit stronger, but I'm still feeling like they need to avoid those fights, especially if they don't have perhaps that Blink Dagger on KYXY. I still think that's probably the best idea for you to be able to put pressure on the Gyrocopter before he has BKB.
Yeah, and the Shadow Fiend's item progression is stopped about 4 minutes ago where he picks up the Yasha, and he still hasn't had enough money to buy that SNY because of those 2 disastrous fights by that Roche Pit, but Kachikimba just, he has to spend some time farming right now because fight after fight that you take that you don't win, you're not getting any further ahead. And Shadow Fiend is meant to be really far ahead in net worth. Make no mistake about it. Him being somewhat even here with the Gyrocopter means that he's actually quite far behind. Because remember, at the beginning of the game, he had the stacks to go back to, he had the jungle, he solo pushed 2 towers, and so he should naturally be more ahead than this.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
SNY complete for Illidan. Looks like we're going to have a BKB being picked up by God fairly early on, but I'm just not sure if they want to wait for that. They've got the ultimate of the Dragon Knight ready to go. In fact, it's about to hit its level 2 form, so if they want, they can go for a 5-man push into that middle lane. But is it a good idea? Perhaps trying to pick off somebody beforehand, especially with Reincarnation up on KYXY. Perhaps it's just a bit too forward to go for a fight.
You don't necessarily have to just 5-man straight down, but if you look at Fnatic's lineup, they don't have the best lineup to defend with. Their Shadow Fiend still doesn't have a BKB, so even with an SNY, he's not very tanky. All of VP are pretty much set in position. They have full mana, full HP. They don't have a mech of their own, but it's not really necessary because they have the Shadow Wave. And Fnatic simply just don't want to take a fight. I think they doubt their ability to be able to kill Illidan twice.
Starting off with the stun, here comes the charge on the side. They're going to go for Johnny. The call down is there. They're going to catch out Mushi. He won't be able to get off the Song of Siren. He dies immediately after he gets popped. Now Ohio throws out the wall. Good vacuum out of 2, but there's just no more offense left. Echo Slam finishes off him. They managed to take away that Aegis, but Kachikimba is going to be a little bit caught. KYXY trying to go for DK Bubbles, but a beautiful Fisher block once again from Lil. Make sure that there's no escape for Fnatic. They drop 4 once again, and all they take is the Dazzle as well as the Aegis away from that Gyrocopter. Another great team fight for VP.
Oh, and I actually think Fnatic messed up there where KYXY had his ultimate, I think, but didn't have enough mana to use it, but I don't think it would have mattered. He was pretty dead in that situation, and once again, they decided to take a fight where they pretty much can't win. Yes, they got the Gyrocopter Aegis, but it's not like he died again, and they didn't get any objectives off of that. VP managed to take down the mid tower, meaning their smoke ganks are going to be even more successful, and they have even more dominant control of the jungle, because they can approach from 2 different areas. They can come around from here, they can enter from here, and even from here, and so if they decide to ward up there, Fnatic's going to have a hard-pressed time to catch up, because the Shadow Fiend relies so heavily on jungling to get back into this game.
Now, I also feel like Fnatic have really lost their timing to go for the Song of Siren initiations. I mean, this is very much a potential wombo combo where they can lead with the Song of Siren offensively, set up for a big vacuum, Light Strike Array, and SF ultimate, and just AoE cleave down a couple of heroes. But with the BKBs coming in very soon for VP, it seems that timing is no longer going to be an option. Both the DK and the Gyrocopter will be able to instantly pop their BKBs outside of a Song. So at this point, it seems Fnatic have to go for a heavy split push, as it's very clear by now that they can't win team fights.
Yeah, VP have demonstrated time and time again that they can't, or they can win fights. They're about to get a BKB on their Gyrocopter. If G wants one, he's about to grab one himself, and this is the crucial timing that I talk about. Once you get the double BKB on your cores, you can pretty much just march down whatever lane you want and take the fight. No matter what, there's nothing that Fnatic can really do to contest that. You could maybe Song of the Siren net one hero, but the dual power of the Gyrocopter and the Dragon Knight should be enough.
Yeah.
There's not enough physical damage on the side of Fnatic to deal with them. You've got a Dragon Knight that's got a ton of armor, same with Illidan, and they're actually just going to smoke up and go for it because they realize they've got the BKB on the Dragon Knight. You're not going to wait for the Aegis on the Gyrocopter or anything like that because he's demonstrated that he's not having trouble living in these fights.
With both middle lane and top lane being pushed into that tier 2 tower, it seems Fnatic do get the read that there is a smoke from VP, and so that's why they back up and go for a smoke of their own. Hoping to get that pick off. They draw the line. They're going to head into the enemy jungle here with Mushi leading the charge. He doesn't have Song of Siren, but it is up in 15 seconds. They start going uphill, placing some wards ahead of them. See if they can't get that pick off. It's going to be deep in VP territory. I feel like this fight, if it goes wrong for Fnatic, they may never have the opportunity to come back. They're going to leave the DK Phobos, blows them up immediately. Now the call down comes in, and Fnatic are going to be slowed down, but VP are not going to pursue. They accept the one tap, and they'll go ahead and just back themselves up. Perhaps even giving up this tier 2 in the middle lane.
I don't know if you want to give up the tier 2 in the middle lane. I guess you don't have call down, but you still have the BKB on your Dragon Knight, and your Earthshaker can just spam Fissure if he wants and make it really difficult for them to push. But if you're Fnatic, you don't really have a better option right now. You have all your ultimates, there's not a BKB coming on anybody, and you need the tower gold to be able to get a Blink Dagger on KYXY, and so I think this is an okay attempt by them, but they have to be careful. You can't overextend and lose any more than what you already have so far in this game, and they should be able to take down this tier 2, but it's most likely going to get denied, and they should be okay with that and just try to get out, but...
Oh, they're actually going to go for the pursuit here. Smoke up with the charge coming in as well. They want to be able to get as close as possible with the call down coming in as well. They do have a good opportunity. Looks like Ketchigimba is going to be the first one locked down by DK Phobos. Meanwhile, the rest of the fight, Illidan is able to take out the Lina immediately. Ketchigimba also going down as well. They need a couple more right clicks. God just isn't there in time. Now Ketchigimba going for the TP out. Lil sees him for half a second, but can't get the stun in time. So Virtus.pro only get the one pick off on the support, and that's it. But at the very least, they did manage to force Fnatic back, and they did get that deny in the tier 2 tower.
Yeah, and it's actually really cool to see Fnatic just continue to go for these fights, because I did think they were disadvantaged there, but I think they realized the position they're in. They have to force VP back. They have to at least force VP to see a different look, because if you just let VP smoke up into your jungle repeatedly, and you lose core heroes by being picked off, you're probably going to lose in that way anyways. And so it's better to at least get aggressive, try to create opportunities for yourself and open up the map a little bit more. And by taking that mid-tier 2, they definitely accomplished that. But at the same time, I question whether or not Fnatic can hold this fight. The Dragon form is down by VP, and so I believe VP is just going to back off and continue to farm.
Yeah, at the same time, on the flip side, I really like the choice of Virtus.pro to not go for that fight. To just see the tier 2 essentially way to Fnatic. They gave away all that tower damage because of the fact that they hadn't yet finished up the Gyrocopter's BKB, and they've got that Blink Dagger coming in so soon for the Earthshaker. If you took that fight and lost it, you would be kicking yourself for not waiting out those very key team fight items.
They're just going to do the Ancients together, and I think VP are pretty comfortable with how this is. We've seen how powerful being on the dire side is. FNG has medallions, so going for the Roche fight, incredibly easy for them. They have a Dragon Knight, a Gyrocopter with the medallion, and it's a small enclosed area for an Earthshaker to fight in. And the Aegis is going to be up anytime soon, and they've got double BKB on their cores. With the Aegis, I think that's where you go for all the tier 2s that Fnatic have.
Fnatic left with very few options, especially since they've only got one more smoke left. After they use this one, they are going to be down for a good 3.5 minutes. And Virtus.pro, with that charge, they force the SF to TP back, and now they're just really hoping to be able to secure Roshan right now, which is up in just 15 seconds. The rest of Fnatic farming away. We do have that Blink Dagger now on KYXY, and he has his level 2 reincarnation. Blink Dagger is up on Ohio as well. That could definitely make a big difference in these team fights if he can catch the right heroes. The problem is still going to be those BKBs.
Yeah, it's still going to make a lot of sense for him to get it, though. If he can get the vacuum initiation in the Roche Pit fight, that would be huge. Fnatic, with this one smoke, they have to get so much out of this. This Roche fight has to be incredibly successful for them, and that's why I think you ought to go for the Blink Dagger all in for this fight if you can. Fnatic is well aware that the Roshan is about to be up, but I don't even think VP cares because they have to start moving now.
Fnatic, they just push out that middle lane, smoke up, and now heading for the Roshan pit, but it's already below half HP, especially with that medallion. It's going to be dropping fast. The Naga Siren Illusion is going to be leading the way. It spots out that Roshan is incredibly low, but Fnatic took a bit of a detour. They hit it up into the middle lane. Now they make the jump in Naga Siren, but it's too late. Already the Aegis is down. They're going to throw down the wall and try and take this fight anyway. Catching Imba goes for the ultimate echo slam, interrupts. Catching Imba, he's going to be blown up before he gets anything off, and now the fight looks disastrous as double BKBs are popped. They're ignoring KYXY. His reincarnation is blown, and the rest of Virtus.pro just looking forward. Fnatic, Ohio's going to be going down next to the creeps. KYXY with a blink TP away will be the only survivor there for Fnatic. Desperation seems to be striking the Southeast Asian team as they go for yet another team fight inside that Roshan pit, but it doesn't fare any better than the previous ones.
Yeah, that was just a little bit of miscommunication. As the Darkseer goes in, the Song of the Siren is popped at the same time, so his vacuum was rendered null. They didn't really get anything off like they wanted to. The Shadow Fiend just simply can't get his ultimate off. If you notice, Lil had the perfect timing there. As soon as the sleep was over, no hesitation, blinks into the Roshan pit, throws down the Echo Slam. Kachek Imba gets slain immediately, and VP are just out-coordinating Fnatic in these team fights. And I mean, KYXY is going to go in, but can he actually do anything?
Yeah, he doesn't have that reincarnation, so he's got to play careful here. Shallow Grave being placed on Illidan. The ensnare's going to still catch him, and Fnatic desperately needs to be able to make this fight work for them. 3-man vacuum, but you already have the Spiritbringer just charging deep in, making himself a target. Fire Breath comes through. Fnatic actually dropping a little bit low. Illidan in the background. There goes the Lagoda Blade to take him out, but that's just the Aegis. KYXY trying to toggle as best as possible. Lil is going to be caught, but another great Shallow Grave keeps them alive. The back out, call down, still going to be able to catch Mushi here, and Illidan charging in without fear. Really wants to be able to clean up this support. Gets a little bit closer, but now he is being kited. No, nice use there. The flat cannon manages to catch Mushi in the end for a godlike spree on Illidan, and the dive past the tier 3 tower works out to VP's favor.
And they've almost got an Assault Cuirass on G. And we questioned earlier teams that were unable to get to the high ground, but VP have many different ways to get to the high ground. Illidan so farmed, he's got a ton of stats. He still has a 9-second BKB. G's about to pick up a DD rune and an Assault Cuirass. At the same time, something we really haven't talked about is the sheer amount of levels that this Dragon Knight is getting. He's almost level 16.
A critical level, right, yeah, for a Dragon Knight.
Getting into a fight against VP's team was going to be difficult before. Now you've got the Blue Dragon to deal with. That's actually what it's called, by the way. It's like the least creative name. It's just called the Blue Dragon. I thought it was called like the Frost Dragon or anything, but nope. Just the Blue Dragon.
He's going to have the Assault Cuirass coming in soon. Physical damage just won't mean anything to him. Perhaps that's okay with Fnatic because they still don't have very much physical damage at all. Shadow Fiend's still rocking just the S and Y, and Wraith King only has jump in, catching Imba in a bit of trouble. He's going to be chain locked and taken out with the double damage. They will be able to get the turnaround kill on Lil, but it's still not worth it, especially with Johnny. He's stuck in the trees, and God, well, trying to catch up. Looks like Johnny's going to be able to get some distance out, and G just kind of lets him go. He knows he's not going to be able to catch up to that support. Still a favorable trade for VP.
Yeah, every single time that you take down the Shadow Fiend, he just continues to struggle. He needs that BKB desperately. But I'm not too panicked for Fnatic yet. They still have a BKB potentially on their Shadow Fiend. They can still hit that GG combo with vacuum into the Lina stun. There's a lot of different ways for them to come back into this game, but there's only so many poor fights that you can take before it just adds up into too much.
DK Phobos on the hunt right now with his Invis rune. What do you think about his choice here of going for the early Vlads rather than a quick BKB to make 3 Magic Immune cores?
I think they realize that Fnatic's heroes just don't deal damage, and if you stack up the armor, you've got the Vlad's aura, you've got the Assault Cuirass aura on the G, how do you actually kill any of them when they decide to BKB? even if it's a 2v5 fight with the Naga Song of the Siren, I'm not entirely sure that Fnatic can deal enough damage to cut through it. Because Kuchikimba, his BKB should come about now, but at the same time, he still only deals about 150 a hit. That's just not going to cut it against a hero that has nearly 30 armor. He's actually got more than 30 armor.
Yes, his Dragon Knight.
He doesn't even have the Vladzora yet. He's going to have 50 armor.
He is a beast right now at Fnatic. Oh, they could be in a bad position here. They're going to go for the smoke up. Lil already sees him, missed the Fissure, but KYXY has been stunned up. They managed to get some stuns onto Lil, but KYXY is going to be sacked here. He loses reincarnation, and the rest of Fnatic waiting to go back in. BKB is being popped now by VP with Mushi popping that Song of Siren that leaves Illidan all by himself, but he doesn't care. He's going to man mode this one out. Kenchigimba pops his BKB, trying to go for God, but he's just too damn tanky. DK Phobos bumping back Kenchigimba with a charge over to the supports as well. Two-man Fissure on top of that one. Kenchigimba is on the escape. At the same time, Mushi maybe sacrifices the Gyrocopter. Kenchigimba playing around with these Centaurs, trying to clear through them. Echo Slam gets laid out. He goes down. And now the chase continues for Johnny with a charge on top. He's not going anywhere. It's only Ohio, the offlaner, who will survive once again. Fnatic just shy of getting team wiped.
Yeah, and that's 4 for 0 right now as VP just completely dominates that fight. And that's what I'm talking about. When VP decide to pop the BKBs, even with the Song of the Siren, they just have to play defensively because they're struggling so hard to deal any sort of damage. You noticed even the Wraith King had to just back up, run into a corner. He didn't really know what to do, and that's even without the Aegis. And so once he has a Butterfly, you're nowhere near an MKB if you're Fnatic. And you still have the combo that you can fall back on, but consecutive fight after consecutive fight loss means that eventually it's not going to matter whether you hit the Wombo combo.
Now the incredibly effective support item Solar Crest is being placed on God, and there's no chance there's going to be an MKB anytime soon. Out of Fnatic, the charge comes in. KYXY, well, just bumped back by a Fissure. He still does not have his reincarnation for a full minute. And that's why Illidan feels pretty much no danger in pushing forward into this melee Rax.
He still has his BKB, and even without an Aegis, he's pretty confident because he realizes you've got the Grave, there's nothing that can go through that, and they want to go high ground with this. 31 minutes into the game, VP is usually a team that's completely methodical and they'll wait, but they're deciding to just go for it right now. They can taste blood.
Oh, there's the two-man vacuum, but it's still not enough for them to be able to win the fight. The call down gets laid out. Okay, KYXY, he's going to be going down again. Beyond godlike already for Illidan as he now marches to kill Ohio as well. Great Life Strike Array, though, catches multiple, and they'll take out DK Phobos to start with. And now Illidan going to be caught by the Wraith King stun and more right clicks. They can't quite get it. FNG's keeping Illidan alive. Johnny has one chance to be able to get a Dragon Slave, but he turns around to face up against God. Level 17 Dragon Knight will finally die here as Ohio picks up the double kill. They hold their melee racks, but they've lost the tier 3, the range racks, and it did cost them a buyback there out of Ohio as well as KYXY.
And that's the worst thing, is that KYXY has had these same set of items for quite some time, and you've pretty much killed all chances of him catching back into the game. He's got 411 gold, nowhere near an MKB that he desperately needs. Meanwhile, if you just look at VP's side, Illidan's got a Butterfly, and I mean, I don't mean to be negative on Fnatic's chances, but at a certain point, there are just items that you can't really beat with what you have, and Fnatic are rapidly approaching that point. They can't take another sloppy Roche fight. They actually have to steal it, because I don't know if they can hold the high ground if there's both an Aegis and double BKBs up on both cores, and now you can't commit buybacks anymore.
Now a third BKB, DK Phobos has his, Lil's got a Glimmer Cape, and we already talked about that Solar Crest and what could be a 4-staff for FNG as well. I love the way that Virtus.pro are playing very disciplined when they push uphill as well. This is what kind of struck me when they had the Gyrocopter there on the front lines. They had everyone else sitting very far back because they really wanted to make sure they did not get caught out by a big blink vacuum out from Ohio. And you could see when Fnatic finally were forced to make the initiation, all Ohio could grab was a 2-man vacuum from it.
Yeah, and with all these BKBs up at the same time, as long as VP's fast to the trigger, they can take these fights, but it's going to come down to how Fnatic decides to approach this. They don't have a smoke for quite some time, Austin, and that's what I'm a little bit concerned about if I'm them. How do you take the Roche fight? You can't really walk in. You have the gem, sure, but wait, they don't have the gem anymore either, no. It actually got given to the Dazzle, and so they can't even walk in with vision. They're pretty much just fighting blind at this point.
Yeah, and Roshan's up for in a minute and a half, so Fnatic have very little time to figure out a game plan here. It seems right now it's all about split pushing as Ohio Pushed out the top lane. We have our Shadow Fiend actually just real quick bumps out of the jungle, clears through a creep wave, and then immediately TPs out. He's just too scared of the Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, he should be at this point, because another catch means that Fnatic are going to get high ground. You don't want to be forced into a buyback situation as a Shadow Fiend, just because you spawn with no souls. So you're not going to be able to deal any damage. Your ultimate's probably already been popped at that point, and even if it hasn't, your BKB ultimate with 18 souls isn't going to really change a fight. Fnatic pretty much need the perfect setup here. They probably need to blow up 1 or 2 heroes with the Song of the Siren. Like, they have to catch somebody from VP that doesn't pop it in time, and then after that, they pretty much have to win a 4v5 fight after that point. But I'm not sure if they can do enough burst damage. They don't quite have the heroes for this.
Oh, Lil misses out on that one. Mushi thought about taking advantage of Lil, who's kind of stuck in this position, but I think they realize VP are going to be nearby. Mushi starts a little bit of damage on Lil, but not too much pressure. VP start mounting a response. They control this cliff area, which Fnatic simply cannot push into. We saw the last time they smoked up and tried to go up that cliff. Did not fare well for them. Lil's going to see this respawn of Roshan now. And Fnatic, time on the clock here, 35 minutes in. Seemingly need a miracle to be able to come back into this game after what is a 16,000 gold lead from VP. A very monstrative late game potential here. Solar Crest bringing Roshan. Look at it, it's already going down to 3k HP, and Fnatic are not going to be able to mount a response in time. Aegis already in the hands of Illidan, and TK Phobos, he wants to be able to force this fight. Charge right through Mushi, leading things up for Lil to be able to get a multiple stun. Johnny's going to be controlled up by TK Phobos. Meanwhile, farther up, they do manage to take out the Wraith King for their first life. Farther down, Mushi is trying to back himself away from the rest of VP. Nice two-man vacuum with wall on top. TK Phobos actually going to go down here. God, though, pops his BKB, and now challenges Kenchigimba for superiority. Kenchigimba running away, but nice Song of Siren out from Mushi. They're going to try and pop God here. They lick on the Song of Siren. God gets brought a little bit low, but it's still not enough. The Shell Grave is there, and Kenchigimba, desperate to be able to TP out, does not make it away. Johnny TP's out, but they lost their core. KYXY as well as Kenchigimba are down, and Virtus.pro now go for the second lane of Rax at bottom.
There's no buyback on the Wraith King. The Shadow Fiend does have one, but Fnatic no longer have any abilities. And this bottom fight is going to be so hard for them to hold. The Elder Dragon form still has about 20 seconds left on it. Illidan has the Aegis, and he's so far for 36 minutes into the game. They've got a Grave and the Earthshaker backing him up. At best, this is going to be a 3v4 fight for Fnatic.
Buyback is there. Ohio, two-man backing with the Shivas on top, but the magic damage just isn't nearly enough. God, still very healthy. As Illidan leads the charge here against Kenchigimba, trying to desperately to get back to the fountain. Lina goes down, and Kenchigimba just barely gets back in time, but that is definitely a second laner Rax. The only reason their top laner Rax is potentially going to stay alive for a little bit here is because that tier 2 tower is still up. You can see a gigantic creep wave is on its way. VP seemingly already have this game in the bag. 37 minutes in, 30-13 to their advantage.
That's a full Satanic, by the way, finished on Illidan. If you thought he was going to die before, he's got an Aegis, a Satanic, a Butterfly. There's no MKB completed on anybody on Fnatic. I mean, this is starting to look nigh impossible.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Bouncing back, TK Phobos about to finish up a Blade Mail on top of that. We've got the 4-staff in for Dazzle. The list of items just goes on and on and on. For everyone that's picked up, Fnatic's chances in this game get a little bit slimmer. Illidan on the front lines here for this tier 3 tower. The last laner Rax. This is do or die for Fnatic. Mushi is in an interesting position here. Gets caught out by Illidan. BKB activated. Mushi is already down and out. KYXY, he's going to go down as well. He does not have a buyback. The Blink Dagger picked up from Kenchigimba, but he may not have the opportunity to use it. Nice vacuum into the wall, but the ultimate just doesn't seem to do anything. Kenchigimba gets torn apart like paper. Ohio's next up, and there it is. GG, Fnatic call it. Their opportunities here at the International come to a close as Virtus.pro take them out in this best-of-1 elimination match.
What a dominant performance by Virtus.pro. They don't even look phased. They're not even really, I'm sure they're happy, but it doesn't even look like that bothered them. They're like, we expected to go there, be clinical, take them apart, and that's exactly what they did. An absolutely dominant performance for them, surrendering just 14 kills in 38 minutes. Fantastic play by Virtus.pro. Congratulations to them to moving on to the top 12. At the same time, condolences to Fnatic, who worked their heart out to get here and still walk away with a decent chunk of